What's up everyone, I'm Chirag and welcome to part 2 of tutorial series on AWS Glue. This is the hands-on video on the basic end-to-end transformation using AWS Glue. In this video, we will use multiple components of AWS Glue like crawlers, data catalog including database, tables and ETL jobs. After going through this video, you will have a good initial understanding of how you can do end-to-end transformation using AWS Glue for specific use cases. At the high level, we will transform the CSV file into Parquet format. The data store is S3 and we want to transform the CSV into a Parquet file and store it back to the S3 bucket. Now let's understand this flow. We will create a crawler which will connect to the S3 data store. After connecting, it will infer or determine the structure of the CSV file using built-in classifiers, and then it creates the metadata table in the AWS Glue data catalog. Now after populating the data catalog, we will create the ETL job to transform the CSV into Parquet file. The data source of the ETL job will be the AWS Glue data catalog table, and as a part of the transformation, we will apply the mappings. Post transformation, the data will be stored in S3 bucket as a Parquet file. Now let's understand the terminologies that we have used as a part of the workflow. Data catalog. Data catalog is the persistent metadata store in AWS Glue. It contains table definition, job definition, and other control information to manage the AWS Glue environment. Now, as a part of the data catalog, we will create a database. A database is a set of associated data catalog table definition organized into a logical group. And within the database, the table will be created and the table will hold the metadata definitions that represent the data. Generally, the table defines the schema of the data. Crawler. Crawler is a program that connects to the data store which will determine the schema of the data using the classifiers, and then it writes the metadata in the AWS Glue data catalog. Here we will use crawler to create the tables in the database. However, you can also create the tables manually. Job. Job is a collection of transformation scripts, data sources and data targets. Data store. A data store is a repository for persistently storing your data, for example Amazon S3 in our case. Then we have data source. A data source is a data store that is used as input to a process or any sort of transformation. Finally, we have data target. A data target is a data store that a process or transform writes to. Now I think it's much of a theory, but one more slide. So let's have a look at the steps that we will follow for the hands-on implementation of the workflow that we have just discussed. Configure S3 bucket as data store where we will create folders and upload the data. Create IAM role to provide permission to AWS Glue to access different services like S3. Then create a database in Glue, followed by create and configure crawler to create the table in the database, and then create the ETL job for transformation. So these are the steps that we are going to follow in our hands-on implementation. Now as the next step, let's navigate to AWS Management Console for the hands-on implementation. Now once we are within AWS Management Console, let's navigate to IAM role. So here we are going to create the IAM role to provide AWS Glue the permission to access different services. And once you are within IAM Management Console, click on roles from the left panel, click on create role. Now here within trusted entity type, we are going to select AWS service, and within use case, we are going to select AWS Glue as a service. So select Glue from this drop down and check this Glue. Click on next. Now here within this permission, search for AWS Glue service role and select that. Now with this permission, AWS Glue will be able to access the S3 buckets which contain AWS-Glue as a part of the bucket name for the defined permissions in this policy. So select that and click on next. Provide the role name, that is AWS Glue service role demo in my case. And finally click on create role. Once the role is created, we will navigate to S3 Management Console. Now within S3, we are going to create a new bucket. So click on create bucket. Give the bucket name. I will say AWS-Glue tutorial series. The name of the bucket should be unique across AWS. So give it a name, leave rest of the option as it is and click on create bucket. So here we have successfully created the S3 buckets and let's open that. Now within this bucket we are going to create a couple of folders. So click on create folder. Here I will provide the name as data-store. Click on create folder. Within this data-store I will create another folder with the name annual_reports. Create folder. So within Glue, we will also create the database with the same name, that is annual_reports. However, it is not necessary that it should have the same name as this folder. It's just that it is easy to map things with this kind of naming convention. So this is our database. Now within this database, we will create a table, just logically speaking. Okay, so here we are going to name it as CSV_reports. Click on create folder. Now within this folder we are going to upload the CSV file. So I am going to upload this CSV file. Now this CSV file I have downloaded from this website, right? That is Annual Enterprise Survey 2021 Financial Year Provisional Report. So I have used this file. So I'm going to upload it. So click on upload. The file is uploaded successfully. Let's close this. Let's quickly have a look at the kind of data that it has within the CSV. So select this file, click on actions, click on query with S3 select. Now here the format is CSV, the CSV delimiter is comma, compression is none. Output settings, I want to have a look at the data in the form of CSV. CSV delimiter would be comma. Okay. Now here we have a sample query, so we are not going to modify this. Simply click on run SQL query. Now this is how the data looks like. So here we have multiple columns like here industry aggregation, industry code and whatnot. Okay, so we want to transform this CSV file into the Parquet file. Okay, with some sort of mappings that we want to apply. For example, we want to change the data type for particular columns. So this is how the data looks like. Now moving back to our S3 bucket. Now here with data store, I'm going to create another folder. So click on create folder. And here the name is target-data store. Now I want to store that Parquet file in this directory. And within this directory, I will create one more folder with the name Parquet reports. Create folder. Now here we have successfully configured the S3 bucket along with its folder structure. Now as a next step, we will navigate to the AWS Glue Management Console. Now once you are within AWS Glue Console, click on Databases from the left panel under Data Catalog. Here we are going to create the database, so click on Add Database. Now as a part of the name, if you remember, then we are going to provide the same name as one of the folder in the S3 bucket, that is Annual Reports. Again, I want to highlight that it is not necessary that it should have the same name as that particular folder. It's just that it is easy to map things with this kind of naming convention. And then we are also going to provide the location of this particular database in the S3 bucket. So simply we are going to copy and paste the S3 URI of that data store. So go over here, select this annual reports, copy S3 URI and paste it over here. And once you are done with this, click on create database. Now here we have successfully created the database, which is annual_reports. Okay, now as a next step, we are going to create tables, but here we are going to use crawler to create the table for us. So let's click on this tables. Here we have two options to create the table. So one is you can simply click on add table and configure everything manually, enter the schema definition manually. So that's one option. And another option is that let AWS crawler figure out the schema for you. So we are going to click on add tables using crawler. Give the crawler name. I will say annual reports underscore crawl. Click on next. Now here as a part of the data source configuration, it is asking that is your data already mapped to Glue tables? So it is not mapped, so we are going to select not yet. Within data source, we need to click on add a data source. As a part of the data source, we are going to select S3 because the CSV file is residing on the S3 bucket. So that is going to be our data source. Network connection, we will leave it blank. Location of the S3 data or the location of the CSV files. So it is in this account. So select that. And finally, we also need to provide the reference of that particular path that where we want to crawl, right? Where our data is located. So click on browse. Search for AWS Glue or the bucket name that you have created. So in my case, it's AWS Glue demo tutorial series. I will select that. Click on data store. Click on annual reports. And this is the CSV reports directory that I want this crawler to crawl and create the table definition for this. Okay, so select that. Click on choose. And make sure you add the / at the end of this S3 URI. And then we are going to leave rest of the option as it is. Click on add an S3 data source. Additionally, you can also add another data source or multiple data source for this, but as of now we will move on with the single data source. Custom classifiers, we are not going to configure it. We will let AWS crawler use the built-in classifiers because it's the CSV file and the delimiters are a comma. Okay, so it will figure it out. Click on next. Here we need to select the IAM role. It's because we need to provide the permission to this crawler to be able to crawl or query that particular data. So we are going to select the role that we have just created as a part of the first step. So it's AWS Glue service role demo in my case. Leave rest of the option as it is. Click on next. Here we need to select the database that where we want to populate that particular table, in which database. And you can also add the database from here if you have not created one, but if you have already created the database, then you can select it from this drop down. So in my case, it's annual underscore reports. If you want to add any sort of table name prefix, then you can add it over here. It's optional. Within crawler schedule, we are going to select the frequency that is on demand. Okay, click on next. And finally, you can review the settings that you have configured. And once you are done with the review, click on create crawler. Now as you can see, we have successfully created the crawler that is annual reports underscore crawl, and it's in the ready state. So select that and click on run. Now it will take some time depending on the data that we have in the S3 bucket. So let's wait for this crawler to complete. You can check the status by clicking on this refresh button. So here now it's in stopping state, and as you can see under the column that is table changes from last crawl, I guess. So it says one table created. Let's have a look. So click on databases, click on the database that we have created. So in my case, it's annual underscore reports. And here you should be able to see the tables under that particular database that is with the name of CSV underscore reports. And let's click on this and we should be able to view the schema. So here we have some information that is the name, CSV underscore reports, database, classification, it has been identified as CSV, location, connection, and whatnot. So here if you scroll down, then under schema, you should be able to see all the column name and its respective data type. So right now we don't have any sort of partition key. So partition key or the data partition is something that I will cover separately in another video. So as of now, this is how the schema looks like. You can have a look at the partitions if any, and the indexes. Again, it's blank. Apart from this, you can also have a look at the advanced properties of this table. So here you will find other information like are columns quoted, that's false, updated by crawler, that is the name of the crawler, classification, it's CSV, columns that are ordered, true, compression type, there was no compression, delimiter that it identified using the built-in classifier, that is comma, object count, how many files were there, that is 1, record count, size, type of the data. So this is the advanced properties that you can have a look at. Okay, so now here we have created the database, we have created the crawler, and crawler has populated the table for us. Now as a next step, if we have a look at our workflow or the architecture diagram, then we are done with step 1, step 2 and step 3 because we have populated the metadata as a part of the tables. Okay, now if we have a look at the step 4, then we have to configure the ETL job to transform that CSV data into the Pocket file. So let's do that. Now to create the ETL job, click on Jobs from the left panel under AWS Glue Studio. Now here for creating a job, we have a couple of options, and here we will select visual and blank canvas, that is the second option. But apart from that, it also allows you to write and upload the Python shell scripts, Spark scripts and interactive development with Jupyter Notebook. So you can try these options, but as of now we will move on with the second option, that is visual with blank canvas. So select that and click on create. Here we get side-by-side view. In the left view under visual, we will configure the nodes for source, transform and target. As we select the specific node, the respective configuration will reflect in the right side view. Now let's configure the source and it will list all the data source that it supports. So as a part of this video, our source is AWS Glue data catalog. So select that. And as soon as you select that source, you will get the respective option on the right side of the window. So here we need to select the database. So in our case it's annual reports, and then we need to select the table, that is CSV reports in my case. So here we have successfully configured the source, that is the AWS Glue data catalog. Now we need to apply some sort of transformation. So select this, click on transform, and as a part of the transformation I'm going to select the first option, that is apply mapping. But apart from mappings, you can do multiple things with some sort of default option, right? Like drop fields, drop null fields, drop duplicates and whatnot. So let's select apply mapping. Now as soon as you select the apply mapping, it will have respective options on the right side. So here as you can see, here we have the source key, target key and the data type. So how we want to modify the source key or the data type as a part of the output schema. Okay, now here let's say the target key is here and the data type is long, but here I want to change this data type to int. Okay, I don't want it as a long data type. So that I can change. We can also, let's say we want to change the column name from units to measure. Okay, so this is the transformation that I want to apply. We can also see that how the schema would look like after the transformation by clicking on the output schema tab. Okay, now here we have successfully configured the transforms tab. Now finally we want to load the data somewhere. So select this applied mapping and click on target from here, and we want to store the outcome in the S3 bucket. So select that. On the right side, select the format in which you want the output. So it will be Parquet in my case. Within compression type, I will select uncompressed, but you can choose the respective compression that you want. And what is the target location where we want to store the transform data? So click on browse S3, search for the bucket that we have created. Now within this bucket, we have created this target data store, and within target data store, here we have the folder called Parquet report. So I want to store the outcome in this particular folder. So select this, click on choose. And here within data catalog update options, we will select the first option, that we do not want to update the data catalog. Additionally, you can also add the partition key if you want, and that is optional. Okay, so here we have successfully configured the data source, the transformation and the data target. Now once you are done with the setting, click on script. So here you should be able to see the script that AWS Glue has generated for us, that how this transformation will take place. So you can have a look, you can also edit the script if you want, but for now we are not going to touch the script. And then click on job details. Now here you need to provide the job name. I will say annual report underscore ETL, and then you need to select the IAM role to provide the permission for this ETL job to read the data and write the data back to the S3 bucket. Okay, so we are going to select AWS Glue service role demo. That's the IAM role that we have created in the first instance. Okay, and then the rest of the option we are going to leave it as it is. So the type is Spark, Glue version, language that is Python 3. We can also select Scala if you want. And the worker type, it's G1X. That is something we are going to select. But if you want, more CPU, more RAM, then you can go with G2X. And then if you want to scale this job, then you can check this automatically scale the number of workers. Then as of now, by default, the requested number of workers is 10. Do you want to generate job insights? Then check this. Okay, job bookmark. Again, this is something that we'll cover separately. And then number of retries that this job should do in case it's failing. Okay, that's something you can configure as well. And then here we have the advanced properties. So as of now, we are not going to touch this. Okay, now once you're done with this configuration, click on save from the top right corner. And once the job is saved, we can click on run. So click on that, job has been started successfully. And to have a look at the run status, you can click on runs tab. And here you should be able to see the status that it's in running state. Apart from the status, you can also have a look at the logs that is being stored in the CloudWatch. So you can have a look at the all logs, output logs, or the error logs if any. Okay, and here we have a couple of arguments that has been passed by default. Of course, we can also add our own argument. Okay, so we can click on this refresh button to check the updated status. Now as you can see, the run status is succeeded. That means this ETL job is successfully able to extract the data from the AWS data catalog and then apply the transformation that we configured. And then finally it is also able to load the data into the data target, and the data target is Amazon S3. Okay, so now let's have a look at the transform data. So let's go to the S3 bucket or S3 management console. Within this bucket, let's open target data store and the packet reports. Now here, as you can see, here we have one file in the packet format. Now let's quickly have a look at how the data looks like in this packet file. So click on this, click on actions, query with S3 select. Now here as an input settings, the format is Apache Packet. Compression, we don't have any sort of compression. And the output format, we want to have a look at in the CSV form. And the CSV delimiter is comma. Here we have the sample query. Of course, you can play around with this query and then click on run SQL query. Now here, as you can see, the raw data, it's here, and the formatted data, it's here. So this is how the data looks like, and this is how you can perform the transformation. So guys, this is how you can do the basic transformation using AWS Glue end to end. So in this video, we have transformed the CSV file into the Packet file, okay, using AWS Glue. And I hope you get the fair idea about how we can configure different components to get the task done. Okay, so guys, that's all for this video. Until that time, if you want me to do tutorial on any use case or service, then please leave them below and I will try my best to come up with the tutorial as soon as possible. And if you have any queries or comments, then please leave them below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and see you next time.